Why did I take so long to say anything? Hello. I was trying to think of a good thing to say and I just froze. So, hello is good enough. So today's verse of the day, again taken from the YouVersion Bible app, is Titus, chapter 2, verse 11 and 12. So let's get into it. So Titus chapter 2, verse 11 and 12 says, "For the grace of God has been revealed, bringing salvation to all people. And we are instructed to turn from godless living and sinful pleasures. We should live in this evil world with wisdom, righteousness, and devotion to God." So, yeah, this is a letter from Paul to Titus as he was sent to go lead the church in Crete. So Paul is writing him a letter to encourage him, to also help teach him, and just for transparency's sake, I got a lot of this from, reading just in general Titus, and then also some more background info from the Bible Project video about Titus. So if you're like, where'd you get this? You can watch it on YouTube, the Bible Project Titus, and you can get some more info that I kind of got from it. But anyway, again, Paul is writing this letter to Titus to help him as he's establishing this church in Crete. And so Crete is in Greece, and just very much plagued with like the Greek mindset and ideas and the cultures. They have their own culture, and it's very much about hedonism and just living for yourself. I mean, there's more, but this area in particular is known for being super debaucherous and living a lifestyle that's completely outside of what Christ has called us to live, and very much hold on to the customs of their past, serving the Greek gods and all that stuff. So anyway, Chapter 2, the beginning of it, Paul is giving an example of the way family's lifestyle should be established. So, he's kind of talking about the role of what we are as a family. Like, there should be older men to help set the example, and women. Women should not be, should be. I mean, he's giving an example like of just the way the family and as Christians should live. We should be together. We should be focused on, if you're married, focused on faithfulness and not about sleeping around and just living for yourself. Focusing on your family and living upright. So the whole point, just to summarize, is living as examples of who Christ is in our hearts and what He's changed in us and how we're different. It's not about just going out and preaching and just teaching the world, the people who don't know Christ, about and just saying words. But it's about living a lifestyle that would be that shows evidence of who we are. So as we get to this verse, "For the grace of God has been revealed, bringing salvation to all people." Because of that grace that God has given, our lives are changed, and in that, so we see that His grace has been revealed, which means we as Gentiles, we as who weren't, of the Jewish faith, that it brought salvation to us, and including those around us who don't know Christ. And so for Titus, saying to the Greeks, it brought salvation to them, and it's a message to us too. So the next part, "And we are instructed to turn from godless living and sinful pleasures." In the same way this way of living, that even if it is cultural or it's customary, it's the way we've done things forever, but it's godless living. So living without God, it kind of just sums it up, but living without God as a center, or without God as part of our lives and our family unit, and living for these sinful pleasures. And he's saying we should live in this evil world with wisdom, righteousness, and devotion to God. So as we live and as we grow as a family, we seek to live a life. I mean, again, I've said this in another one of these videos, and it all kind of ties together. But, let your light so shine before men so that others will see the good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So when they see us living, it's pleasing, and it's like, oh, wow, that's cool. And what we're living is that we're living out God's grace to us. Everything that we say, that we do, the way I communicate with my wife, and I, we work as a unit. We're not there to bring each other down. We're not there to harm each other. We're there to uplift each other, and we're there to show that there's stability, and that everything that we do is because of God's grace to us, that Christ died on the cross for us. Not only he died for those who loved him, but he died for those who hated him. And that's that same death and that same grace extends today to those who want nothing to do with him. That grace is overflowing, and that love is overflowing to say, I gave up my life for you, and so that your sin can be forgiven. So as we live as a family, it's even a message for even today. We think and we struggle with, why is the world so bad? Why is there so much turmoil and trouble? And why are we having such a hard time figuring things out? And then, we can point to politicians. We can point to, it's this group, it's that group, it's blah, 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 blah. The real issue is, and as a church, we can change things only first by prayer, and by praying, Lord, change my family, change who we are on every Monday through Sunday, who we are when we're at home, change the way that when they see me, and I don't like when I go out into the world, that the church, that the world sees me and they're not like, well, these people are freaks or they're hermits. They never come out. And every time they do come out, all they do is, throw their Bible at me. That when we come out, that we are people, because we're just like them, in the sense of we're both born on this world, and we're both born with a God who said, I need to know you. I want you to come into my presence. So when we do all that, they're like, so what is so different about you? And they see, the grace of God. We're able to express the loving grace of God, that his death brought salvation to us, forgiveness of our sins, and that's the reason why we're different. That's the reason why we have more joy. And so once we live like that, we're able to then have a greater impact on the world than completely living. And it's not even like just living a life of debauchery. Maybe you're not out, doing everything that Paul talked about that the people in Crete were doing. But you're just not extending that grace that God gave to us. You're not extending it to your family, that you're not extending it to your wife or your husband, or just amongst your kids or whatever. Even if you're if you're single, that you're not living with a grace-filled life. You're not living in this evil world with wisdom. You're not living with righteousness, and you're not living with devotion to God. So when we can't do that in home, we can't expect to do that outside. So when people say hypocrite, blah blah, there's two times they might say it. The first one literally is because the things that we say and do are, we're preaching righteousness, and yes, we fall and falter. And there's times we do it accidentally, but there are times that intentionally we can speak and preach and say you should not do this, and we intentionally go home and do the opposite. So as we go on living, just in this verse, I love the second part of it is great, because he's telling us, to Paul's writing, turn away from our evil, for living for sinless desires and for godless living. But the biggest point is, the reason why we should live in this evil world like this is because the grace of God, so overflowing, was revealed to us and brought salvation to us. And in that, we should be living a life of wisdom, righteousness, and devotion to God. So I hope that verse blessed you, because it did bless me. Again, I say it every time, but please, if you have something like different that came out, or a new revelation, please comment, message me, text me if you have my number. I hope you don't have my number. I don't. Just kidding. Anyway, hope that blessed you. Can't wait for what tomorrow's verse is, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.